What's going on, everybody? Welcome to a very special video. A video I'm very excited about, a video I've put a lot of time into to make just right, and I'm very excited to talk about my top 10 films of the decade. The 2010s, I can't believe it, we're through another decade of life, another decade closer to the eternal slumber. Thought I'd talk about some movies that I love the past 10 years. Like I said, this list took a lot of time and effort to put together, and I absolutely know for sure that I've probably missed something or a few things, and this list is easily going to change over time, but this is a list I've compiled as of right now. A lot of it may not be in specific order, but number one, number two, those are definites. Why don't we just go ahead and jump into some honorable mentions. First one, Her from 2013. Absolute fantastic film from Spike Jonze, another great Joaquin performance. Strange film in a almost semi-futuristic film that is really pertinent and relevant to today's times. Paddington 2, fantastic little, I guess you could call it a family film, but it's just so genuine and loving and positive and beautiful, and it's got some of the best British actors we have working today. It's got half of the Harry Potter cast in it. I just love that little bear, and I love the films, and I can't wait for the next one. Django Unchained from 2012. This is a film I obsessed over when it came out. I absolutely love it. I love the adventure aspect. Calvin Candy is one of my favorite villains in film, and I just absolutely love the adventure that we go on with Django and Dr. King Schultz. T2 Trainspotting from 2017. This is a film that I don't think a lot of people are going to have in their list, just because I don't know how many people really enjoyed it that much, but I absolutely love it. Perfect sequel to an amazing film, and I don't think they could have done a movie made 20 years later any better than this one. Birdman from 2014. I just can't say enough about this movie. Won Best Picture, and I love it. Love the one shot. I love just the acting on display. It's kind of a semi-autobiographical film about Michael Keaton, and I just love him. He's a great actor. The film is just fantastic. And lastly, Manchester by the Sea. This is a film to me that holds an emotional punch, especially now for me. It's not a particularly happy film. It's really actually very depressing, and that's the kind of film I like. Casey Affleck doesn't give a really revolutionary performance, but he gives a very reserved and sad and pretty vulnerable performance that I really enjoy. Lucas Hedges is really very good. He kind of plays the same thing nowadays, but I like him in this. This was kind of the start of that shtick he has, and this was like probably his best, I think. Not many people may care, but I'm really very excited to talk about these films because obviously they hold a dear place in my heart for one reason or another, and I love them. And if you haven't seen them, I hope you do. A lot of them are well known, so I'm sure you have. It excites me to talk about movies I love, and hopefully you guys leave your feedback, your lists, and we can talk about your favorite films. Number 10 for me from 2014, Wish I Was Here. Now, this is not a film that I don't think will be on anybody else's top 10 of the decade. The film was kind of ripped apart when it came out, and people didn't like the fact that Zach Braff was using fan money, I guess you could say, to finance the film. It stars Zach Braff, Kate Hudson, Mandy Patinkin, a slew of other people, but those are the three main ones, and my God, the performances in this film are so grounded and real, and you just kind of want this guy to succeed, and he's trying to reach his dreams of being an actor, and he's having a tough time, and all the while his dad is dying. His kids are going through their own crises. His wife is having trouble at work, and there's just so many things going on. This film really has, just like Manchester by the Sea, a real personal, emotional hit for me. There's a lot I can relate to in this movie, and it kind of, I wouldn't say came out at the right time because it came out 5 years ago, but it's just a film that helps, I guess. From 2011, we have Like Crazy. So Like Crazy is a film directed by Drake Dormus. pretty sure that's how you say it, but it stars Felicity Jones and Anton Yelchin. This is kind of the movie that really made me really love Anton as an actor. His death hit me particularly hard when it happened. And then Felicity Jones is terrific in this. She kind of makes you fall in love with her. But basically it's about a couple that meet. She's British, he's American. She's there in America on a school visa. And they fall in love. Eventually her visa runs out. And she goes back to England, comes back, and she realizes she can't get in because she let her visa run out. It's just kind of another example of a depressing sort of film, but it's a great little love story. I love the music. I love the realistic nature of it. If I recall correctly, a lot of the scenes were improvised and done on the fly, and you can feel it. It feels very realistic. It feels very grounded. I love the performances. I love just how real it feels. It feels like love, I guess you could say. It feels like a real relationship, and you're pulling for these two. They're also two very separate people, different people, and the ending is perfect. It's very Graduate-esque. If you've seen that, you know what I mean. And if you've seen this film, you know what I mean. Number 8, another film from 2011, that is Terrence Malick's Tree of Life. Quick story time. I used to work at a theater back when this movie came out, and I saw the poster. I thought absolutely zilch about it. I was not as into movies then as I am now, so I didn't even think twice about it. Cut to a few years later, I don't even know what prompted me to check it out and watch it. Maybe I'd watched some of Malick's previous stuff, but this is something completely different than anything really. Man, where to start with it, really? It's a lot to unpack. It's the evolution of the world and us. It's nature versus grace. A young boy growing up in Texas with his dad that represents nature and his mother that represents grace. There's a lot to unpack with it. There's a lot to it. It's kind of long. It's a little bit slow, but maybe one of the best, I would probably say, soundtracks, because there's some original material, but a lot of it is orchestral stuff from long before, and I just absolutely love the music. It adds to the vibe of this film. A movie about loss, a movie about finding yourself, identity. Like I said, there's a lot to it, but I think it's peak Malick as far as his free-handed camera work and lack of script. Brad Pitt is great. Jessica Chastain is great. Sean Penn, it doesn't really do much but walk around. But they all have to convey a lot with their faces because there's not a ton of dialogue. And I think they all do really well. Number 7 from 2015, Robert Eggers' The Witch. Really enjoyed this film when I first saw it. I had hoped to watch it again with subtitles because that's how you really pick up on a lot of what the film is about. And after watching it again with subtitles, this is fucking incredible. It's a folktale, a New England folktale about, witches. It is a lot about religion, especially early religious ideologies, and it's really kind of disturbing in that sense, the thought process of these almost pilgrims, I would say, and how much stock they put into religion, even going against their family. It's just a true fine example of atmosphere and tension building, and the scares are not about what's on screen, but what's not on screen, what you're feeling, what this family's feeling. Absolutely dreary dread throughout the whole thing. The very end is one of my favorite endings, especially of this decade. It's terrifying, and it's also kind of beautiful. And Anya Taylor-Joy is fantastic. Ralph Ineson is great. Kate Dickie, I think is her name, is the mother, and she's fantastic. Just great performances all around, and give it up for Caleb. The kid who plays Caleb is absolutely incredible, and I don't think I've seen him in anything since, and that's a shame. But The Witch, masterful, love it, Robert Eggers, watch out for him because he's done 2 great things already. Number 6 from 2017, Paul Thomas Anderson's Phantom Thread. Oh boy, I remember the build up to this movie. We were all just kind of not really ragging on it, but we didn't really know what to expect. It looked kind of slow and boring, and you know, me, Matt, and Seth, we were all just kind of blown away by it. Daniel Day-Lewis gives one of his best performances ever, and it's not even one of his more outlandish characters. He's definitely a prick in this movie. There's not really many redeeming qualities about him, but it's fantastically shot. I love sort of the atmosphere and the time period of it. I mean, it's just about a really crazy sociopath, narcissistic asshole who is really all about himself, how he falls in love with a waitress and somebody that finally just will not put up with his shit. The performance by Vicky Krieps, the performance by her is just stunning. She really steps up to the plate and gives Daniel Day a little bit of his own medicine as far as keeping up with him and just performing fantastically. And they're a great little duo. And there's some scenes that almost haunt me a little bit, that just kind of stick in your mind. The music, another one of my favorite scores from this decade. Absolutely incredible by Johnny Greenwood. Not for everybody, for sure, but if you're a fan of film and you're a fan of PTA, gotta see it. Number 5 from 2013, the Coen Brothers Inside Llewyn Davis. Remember seeing this in theaters, absolutely loving it. Saw this during a pretty defining period, not only in my life, but my film watching. It was kind of the my change, my maturing of the films I would watch. I really love this movie. I love the journey of Llewyn, and played beautifully by Oscar Isaac. He's just kind of an asshole. Everybody in his life is kind of an asshole, and he's just kind of tired of trying to hone his craft and not being appreciated for it. It's a movie where, there's really no happy ending, no happy moments. It's kind of a drab and dreary movie. It's got a grayish, sad color palette. There's charm to it. There's charm to all the characters, no matter how misguided and douchey they might be. And it's got some great folk songs, a great soundtrack. Oscar Isaac just kills it in this movie. I was glad to see him be in this and then move on to, bigger things, become a big name with Star Wars and all that. But I wish he would go back to these more indie, smaller films, and because that's really where he's best. Yeah, I love the dark humor, and it's just quite a fantastic film. There's a reason that Criterion decided to put it out not long after it came out. Number 4 from 2014. 2014 was probably one of the best years. 2014, 2016, and even this year. This year's been fantastic. But from 2014, Wes Anderson's The Grand Budapest Hotel became my favorite Wes Anderson movie after watching this. The color palette, the dark humor, the acting. I mean, it's quintessential Wes Anderson, the way it's shot, the square shots. It's something that nobody else could pull off, except, I will say, Paul King for the Paddington films. Those feel very familiar and very much the same as a Wes Anderson movie. But it's just a totally unique movie. It's got a lot of layers to it, great performances, heart, charm. There's a lot of beauty to it. A little sad at times, happy at times. And it's just kind of a perfect storm of everything that Wes Anderson's used in his other films put together into one. Great music. It's got every little piece of the recipe put in all together to make a beautiful, stunning, lovely, charming movie. Like I said, I don't know how much of this list is really in order. It's going to change a lot over the years. So I don't know if this film will always sit at number 3, but it is very important to me. From 2011, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2. This is a series that I grew up watching. I remember watching all of them in theaters, buying the DVDs, saving up on my money to get them, just killing the DVDs with the special features. Remember very specifically sitting in the theater watching this movie, realizing that, this is probably the end of my childhood, the end of innocence, the end of a era, the end of one of the great franchises in all of cinema, and it's definitely my favorite for all those reasons. I don't really need to go too much into the detail of the movie itself because most of you know about it, but everything that was built up over the years by J.K. to create this world, this villain, this hero, and just end it, it was perfect. The best use of part 1, part 2, and all those young adult films that ever did that, and it didn't fuck around with more time, with more story building at the beginning. It just started right off and didn't let up until the very end, and it's heart-wrenching. It's beautiful. It's very mature for the subject matter, and I just absolutely love it. All right, now we're at the top 2. Like I said at the beginning, these ones were for sure. These will stay my 1 and 2 because I just absolutely love these movies. Number 2 is Hacksaw Ridge. This was a theater experience I'll never forget. A lot of it because the experience was so quiet and calm and not annoying. But this movie that Mel Gibson crafted was something that, as far as war movies, you don't really see. Most of these war movies just feel like that. They feel like a war movie. This one feels very different. It feels very real. It feels like war. I will say at the very beginning, it was a little cheesy, but I think a lot of that is to build up the characters. You want to care for the characters, so when he does go off to war, it has that much more of an impact. But when you finally do get to Okinawa, Hacksaw Ridge, it becomes an entirely different movie. Yeah, I remember feeling very overwhelmed by this movie when I saw it. Not only by the movie itself, but just by the human Desmond Doss and everything that he did. I don't know. I do love war movies, and this is one that's up there as far as my favorites, up there with Saving Private Ryan, Apocalypse Now. Hacksaw Ridge is up there as one of the greats, and can't say enough good things about it, and the directing by Mel Gibson. And then number 1 on my list, top 10 of the decade from 2014. I'm sure you're all guessing it now. Boyhood. I won't bore you too much with the details because we've talked this film to death on our channel, but this is just a film that has such a personal impact on me. I've said before on my favorite films of all time that it just feels like a movie made for me because everything that happens in it I went through. It's just so very personal, and it feels like I'm watching myself grow up. Harry Potter takes me back to when I was young, but this movie makes me feel like I'm young again. Just watching myself in a mirror, in a time machine or something, just watching myself grow up. Every time it's an emotional roller coaster. I feel many feelings when I watch it, and I just absolutely love this movie. The performances are great throughout. Something we may not ever see again in film. Just really stands the test of time, and I think will stand the test of time as one of the great movies and great experiments in movies. So that's why it's my number 1. Thank you guys for going on this journey with me. You know, it got a little emotional, got a little deep, but that's what film does to us. And I'm very happy to have put this list together. Let me know what you guys think down below. Tell me your top 10 of the decade. Would love to see it. I love seeing other people's opinions and what they like and why they like it. With that, thank you guys as always for watching, and I'll see you next time.